Okay, so first the colors. We're going to talk about what we're using as far as colors. So today we're going to work on this part, the leaf. And I have here Cadmium Red Light, Sap Green, Burnt Umber, White, and a tiny bit of black here in this area here. I'm not sure that I'm going to be using black, but I think just for this part here, we'll see. So now I started with this one here in the back. I mixed Sap Green, tiny bit of Burnt Umber with Sap Green. And I took some red, put it in, more Sap Green than Burnt Umber, a little bit of red. Okay, touch of white, very small amount of white. And I started putting the color here using this mixture I did right now and tiny bit sometimes of Sap Green in between. This part is a bit tricky. The colors are kind of like leathery in the back. It's kind of interesting. And then you can see that the leaf disappears in here, and that's why I brought some black in there. So we can just kind of push color in and try to fade it. So it just goes in. And I'm using a round brush, small round brush. So this will make it go further back. Or here, just kind of disappear on this end here. Now, I'm going to continue the same thing. I'm just going to take a little bit of white at this point, put red in it, a little bit of burnt umber. This is kind of, you can see the red in there. It's a light color right here. I'll show you what I'm trying to do. Right around the edge. And there is kind of a little bit of a pattern in here, like a hint of some red in there. We don't have to have exactly, it doesn't have to look exactly the same, but it's a cute little detail. And that's enough. That would be more than enough to do this. Now I'm going to use the same color, which is red, burnt umber, and white, and take this over to this side. Now I'm going to start adding Sap Green to the same mixture of that reddish color. We will highlight in a minute. We will highlight this color, but we're just putting a base right now. I'm going to take some black and brown, burnt umber and black, and reshape this stem. Before I start highlighting it. So I'm using negative painting to reshape it. Now there are some little details. I'm not going to put them in there. There's no need for that. Now I have more red and green. So red and green again, like I did before. I'm thinking, because I'm going to add white to this, I'm looking at the reference and I'm trying to see what I see in there. Like, what do I see? More red or more green? And I can see kind of both of them, but I can see red. So let's see if this is good. Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. And again, do I want, like we were discussing before the discussion about interpretation, so do I want to copy it exactly the same, or do I want just to show what's actually is important at this point? My way. The way I simplify things usually. I don't go into too much detail. And I look at something and I say to myself, is this necessary to be there? And does it change anything in the painting? And if not, then sometimes I actually ignore it. This is white and sap green. And I'll put some white again, more white in a minute, in the sap green in certain areas. All right. Sometimes you look at it and it's not exactly what you see. So if you look at the reference and you look at what I'm doing, sometimes you see that it's not exactly the same, but it doesn't have to be exactly the same. So for me, it's much more important to see the subtle kind of change in values than to see the object being copied exactly the same. So I like the idea of seeing a little bit of highlights here and there than to copy it exactly the same. That's much more important to me personally. Okay, it's good. All right, I'm going to stop for a minute. All right, so now let's do the same with the stem on the left side. Again, it's same. I'm going to use burnt umber for the base, burnt umber and sap green and some white. Now I'm going to take a little bit more white, put it in, green, this is good. A little bit more white with green. Let's bring in a bit of burnt umber in there. Okay, it's fine. Let's get some burnt umber and paint this darker. Okay. All right. Once we start painting the leaves, you really don't see, we're not going to see too much of this detail. So I'm just going to take sap green at this point, and let's try a bit of burnt umber in the sap green. Yep, that's good. Let's highlight it a bit. Okay, I'm going to bring in some yellow, Cadmium Yellow Light. It is a green, so I'm trying to keep this leaf in here. Green, but dark. So, sap green. Let's keep it at sap green and some burnt umber. Right, let's move on to the one next to it. Sap green again, burnt umber. More sap green than burnt umber, so you should be able to see a dark green. Then you're okay. Okay, now sap green. Let's take a bit of yellow, put it in, or actually bring the sap green to this side where the yellow is. And let's put the stem, little kind of attachment to the leaf. A bit of brown. Oh, jeez, no. Okay. Now, in between the leaf and the bag, there is a little bit of an opening in there, and that's a nice little detail. So I'm going to take burnt umber and black, put them together. It's very small, narrow, kind of a triangle right here. I'm just using some brown and burnt umber and white, a little bit of white. And I'm just going to give this, where I put the dark color, soften the edge a bit of the, with a dry brush of the bag. Because the black went over the bag and it looks a little bit funny. So I'm just kind of putting the back again, kind of over the black. Okay, now let's work on this one here. And that's the one that's highlighted the most. We'll start with sap green, a little bit of burnt umber, and tiny bit of yellow. Okay, now we're going to start highlighting this. So I'm going to add more yellow to the same mixture of sap green, burnt umber, and yellow. So more yellow now. Not all the way down, because the leaf turns in up. So there's no, when it turns up, you don't see the light on it at that point. Now again, so I'm highlighting slowly. Even the side of the leaf is not that highlighted right here. It's mostly, and I'm trying to keep my paint wet, not too dry. Medium tone. Round brush is very good for something like this. So you have to keep on kind of trying until you get to that very soft transition between dark and light. It's a little bit too light. I'm going to push in some sap green. I'm going to take yellow, tiny bit of white in my yellow. Yellow and green, it's not just yellow. It's good enough. Sometimes glazing for these, with something like this, is the best thing to do, to glaze. I keep adjusting. This is acrylics. It dries darker, it dries harsher in certain areas. So I keep adjusting the values and the colors. I see more. I can see more what's going on when the color is dry and what needs to be adjusted. I'm going to stop for a minute. Okay, now for this part, big one here, big leaf, I'm taking Sap Green and a bit of red in my Sap Green. It's the first layer, you're not going to see anything. I'm just going to clean up, put a layer of green here. And I'm using a round brush, big one. Now while this is drying, I'm just going to work on the edge and on some detail, and then I'll go back to the center. I have here Sap Green and some red, Cadmium Red. I'm just going to put a bit of white in here. It's kind of shiny looking. Not too much at first, enough to give it some movement or some change the value, highlights, some very soft highlights right now. I like to put my highlights in, especially when it's something like this where it's reflection and it's soft reflection. I like to put it slowly. I like to add these highlights slowly on.
Do you add white?
Yes. Just a little bit of white in there. Now a little bit of sap green and burnt umber on this side. I just want to soften a bit or push this highlight in because it's not everywhere. Side of the leaf, outer side is darker. Okay, now I'm going to go back. And softly spread, not spread actually, kind of soften the edge between the dark and the light. Okay. This is slightly darker. It has white in it, but it's very small amount of white. And this is in preparation for the stronger highlight that's going to come. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of red in that green, in the green that has tiny bit of white, and I'm going to put it here. Okay, at this point, let's take white into this green. Wow. Okay. Green and white. Wipe my brush. Bring in this stem in, this part of the stem in. Okay. Okay. Okay, a little bit in. I'm gonna glaze it on. This dark part, I'm just gonna clean up this part. Okay, good. I'm trying to highlight this part and it keeps going dark. Oh, there we go. There. Okay. We're good. Let's highlight this part. I'm just using white and sap green. And now, same. Same idea. White and sap green. It's kind of like a glaze. Just sap green and white. Now I'm going to add more white to sap green, same, but more white. And I'm going to put some stronger highlights in here, just to give that shiny look, to show a shiny look in here. Sometimes I really kind of go for what I'm seeing, and sometimes I don't. It depends on what I am looking at and why I insist sometimes on copying what I'm seeing, or, you know, painting what I'm seeing. Because sometimes it's very important for the detail to show that this part here has a bit more of the red, what I'm doing right now. Because right next to it, I'm going to put a strong white. And if you have too much of a jump between the light and dark and no kind of a soft transition, it sometimes looks weird. It doesn't look right. So sometimes I ignore some details because I know they're not going to do any difference. It's not going to be a big deal. But sometimes I don't, because they're important. So white slowly, I'm working with white slowly, adding it to show this kind of reflection, strong reflection. So I have first dark, then medium, and then light. And the light is the stronger the white in there. It's white and green. It's not just white. But the stronger the white, the smaller the amount I put in there. And I'm dabbing this on. This kind of strong reflection, I'm dabbing it on. Once it's dry, if I find that the white is too strong, then I can glaze it a little bit with green. Okay, so let's let it dry and we'll come back to it later. Now let's go back to white, sap green, a little bit of red. Let's come down here. Just give it, it's a glaze. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a, kind of a highlighted detail in here, just a bit of highlight in here. It will dry darker because it's a glaze. I wipe my brush usually when I dip my brush in water, in paint. Okay, I'm just kind of softening a bit with darker highlights. Like I'm just kind of glazing. I'm glazing this part so it doesn't look too strong. It was looking a bit too strong. Now let's go back to kind of a sap green and white. Water. Clean my brush. Take my brush from this side. Okay. Now I can see that this bag needs to be adjusted right now because it will affect the leaf. The leaf goes down straight. And it has a bit of a curve, and this has to be done with the background. So I have to work on the background to get this going, to shape the leaf. So it is negative painting. Burnt umber and titanium buff. Okay. It's a little bit of a highlighted area here. So I'm gonna increase a bit the highlight on the bag so we can see this leaf more. All right. Okay. All right. That's good. Okay. So this is done for this week. Next week, we'll probably try to work on this orange with the leaves and see how it goes, if we have time to do both. And then we'll do this part, and then we're done. There we go.